When we think of techno music, we don't usually think of ambience, but Carl Cox, The Orb, and FabFilter Twin might have something different to say about that. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into FabFilter's Twin 3 VST to learn how to create some luscious techno ambient pads. But before we continue, we're going to spiritually click on that notification button to stay up to date with all the latest news that Attack Magazine has to offer. First, I begin by setting the tempo to 128 BPM, loading in Twin 3 VST and selecting the clean preset. Then, I'm creating a MIDI clip and composing some chords. I'm going to be using the E Dorian scale, and it's just a very simple 2-chord progression. I need 4 oscillators, so let's begin with oscillator 1. I'm selecting a sine wave, I'm moving it to +2 octaves, and then decreasing the volume to -12 decibels. Next, I'm clicking on the plus button to add oscillator 2, setting it to 0 octaves, and then placing the volume at -11 decibels. I'm clicking the plus button to add oscillator 3, setting it to +1 octaves, and placing the volume at -8 decibels. Finally, I'm going to click the plus button one last time, adding oscillator 4, setting it to -1 octave, and placing the volume at -infinity decibels. Now for the main envelope generator. We want a slow, gradual envelope for our ambient pad-like sounds. So set the attack at 5 seconds, the decay at 1.5 seconds, the sustain at -3 decibels, and the release at 1 second. Let's have a little listen to this now. Next up is filter time. So I'm setting filter 1 to a low pass, adjusting to 720 Hz, and setting the slope to 24 decibels. Next, I'm double clicking to add a second filter, setting this to high pass, and adjusting it to 280 Hz, and finally setting that slope to 24 decibels. Then I'm going to double click once more to create a third filter, and I'm going to change this to a low shelf. I'm tuning it to 280 Hz, but I'm setting the slope this time to wide. Then I'm going to move over to the filter frequency offset and reduce this to -2 octaves. I'll increase the filter peak offset to 30%. Let's have another listen to how that sounds now. Now it's modulation time. First, I'm adding a new XLFO, and I'm going to route it to oscillator 2 sync, and then I'm going to set oscillator 2 sync to 2 and set the XLFO frequency to 13 Hz. Now I'm creating a new envelope generator, and I'm setting it at the following. The attack will be 12 seconds, the decay 400 milliseconds, the sustain 0 decibels, and the release at 2 seconds. Then I'm routing this to XLFO1 frequency and adjusting the slot 4 level to 0.5. Click the minus button to reverse the polarity. You can hear this now modulate the rate of the LFO, moving from a fast speed smoothly into a slower speed. Let's have a quick listen. Now I'm routing XLFO1 to oscillator 3 sync and setting oscillator 3 sync to 2. Finally, I'm routing XLFO1 to filter 2 pan, and that's going to create some interesting stereo widths. Now I'm going to add in XLFO2. Let's set XLFO2's frequency to 0.5 route to Oscillator 1 sync and set Oscillator 1 sync to 2.0. Then I'm routing the envelope generator 2 from the previous step into both Oscillator 1 sync and filter 1 frequency. Route XLFO2 to Oscillator 2 level. Set slot 10 level on XLFO2 to 0.04 as to gently modulate the volume. Then route XLFO2 to Oscillator 3 pan, but dragging the line to the outside of the dial as opposed to the inside of the dial. Now I'm routing XLFO2 to the filter frequency offset and setting slot 12 level to 0.045. Once again, we're going to hear this create a low level subtle change to the sound. Let's have a listen. Now on to envelope generator 3. I'm pressing the add modulation button and selecting a new envelope generator and changing the attack to 15 seconds. The rest of the settings do not need to be changed for this, so simply route it into Oscillator 4's level. Next, return to XLFO1 and route into Oscillator 4 sync, and finally set Oscillator 4 sync to 2.0. Twin 3 has its own delay as well, so head over to the left, turn it on and set it to 50%. Increase the feedback to 70% and change the ping pong mode to left-right. Let's have a listen. For the reverb, I'm going to use Pro R2 directly on the channel. From the preset menu, select Basic, set the style to vintage mode, and increase the character to 100%. Set filter 1 to low shelf, adjust to 300 Hz, and boost by 9 decibels. Finally, set the mix to 100% to give a warm, lush texture to the sound. Let's have a listen. I'm creating a simple drum pattern with a drum rack of just a kick and a shaker. I'm adding Ableton's stock auto filter onto the Twin 3 channel. On that filter, I'm pressing the drop down arrow, turning on the sidechain and selecting the audio from the drum rack and choosing the kick with pre-effects. Then I'm setting the envelopes filter to 127. The frequency can then be automated and the entire synth is going to pump to the sound of the kick. Finally, I'm just adding in some percussion and creating an interesting top line melody. Let's have a listen to the final results. FabFilter's Twin 3 is a powerful and versatile VST, able to create rich and complex sounds for any genre and style. Be sure to experiment and see how it can help enhance your music. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification button.